How to learn to build yourself a computer. I got into building computers about 3 years ago, and I can remember some of my experiences, and maybe it'll help some of you guys out, maybe it won't. But when I got into it, I had no clue. I hadn't done anything with computers. I mean, I never took the side off of one before, but I really wanted to play some games on computers. I had an old junky one that I always played like really old games on, and when the time come to get a new one, instead of going out and buying one or having someone build me one, I just decided I was just going to build it myself. Now, I'll say right off the bat, the beginning is the hardest part because it's a lot of information to take in all at once, and if you don't have any idea about anything, it can be overwhelming and you'll give up. I almost gave up a few times, but as a wise man once told me, the only way you can fail is if you give up. If you keep trying, then you can't fail. So I stuck to it. I kept going and going and learning and learning. I'll tell you the easiest way to learn is I used the Newegg app on your phone. And Newegg has a lot of detailed information about the stuff you're going to buy. So what I would always do is just make builds on YouTube, like wish lists or whatever, or YouTube shit. Newegg, I'd make builds and cross-reference stuff and see if this would fit in here or this would fit in that. But I didn't want to put the money down all at once to buy all the parts and get them delivered here and then, fuck it up and, waste all my money. So what I did was I took my old junky computer, and it was an E-machine. It was like 10 years old or something, and I just decided that was what I was going to work on. So I went around and got to garage sales and family members and stuff and got other old ones and just started mixing and matching stuff off of each computer until I had the best computer I could get. I had like $20 in them all or something. It would play a lot of games. It would probably still play Dota and Counter-Strike and stuff right now. And that's probably my best advice I could give you, is to start with junky ones. And there's lots of old games to play. You got Rome, the original Rome Total War game, and the Age of Empire series, and Civ 3 and Civ 4. Those are really good games, and those are the type of games that you want to play on computers. So once you decide that you're going to build yourself a computer, you need to know where to start at, right? So there's 6 essential components to the inside of a computer. I like to think of it kind of like a Mr. Potato Head toy. You got the potato with all the sockets and the individual parts. Well, there's 6 parts to a computer on the inside of it. You got the motherboard, the CPU, the RAM, the hard drive, the PSU, and the GPU. That's 6 parts. Now, what I suggest you start with is the motherboard. The motherboard is like the potato in the Mr. Potato Head toy. You got the potato. If you take everything out of it, you just got a potato with sockets in it that you plug stuff into. Well, that's like your motherboard. And each one of those sockets will have a different name. It'll say SATA or PCI Express or 24-pin power connector, CPU socket. Each one of those has a name. Now you learn the names and you learn what parts goes into each socket, and that's basically how you learn to do it. It's trial and error. So you get your old computer out of the closet and you take the side panel off. And the first thing you do is look for the motherboard identification number. There'll be some code or something to identify it, like a brand and then a number. You can take that number and you put it into Google and you start researching, what's the best graphics card I could get. Once you decide, your graphics card is what will play your game, so obviously you want the best graphics card you can start with. So I would take whatever motherboard you had and try to buy a video card that will fit in it. Now, the majority of stuff, if you get an old E-machine, which is probably an XP machine or Vista machine, just about anything will fit into them. And, you got to watch for power consumption. You make sure your power supplies got enough juice to handle all the extra stuff you're adding. But that's just something you learn in the process. And you pick all your stuff out, and then if anything is over the power limit, you might have to get you a new power supply. But it don't cost you anything to do that. You don't have to put down money and buy a bunch of parts off Newegg or Amazon. You just got, junky one you're working on. And if you're new to playing games on computer, then I promise you, once you play Age of Empires and Rome, Total War, and Civ, you'll be converted. Those games take a lot. It takes a lot to get into them, too. It's kind of like building a computer. It's a lot to take in at once if you've never done it. But I promise you, I've never seen anybody that I didn't sit down and show them how to play the game, and they put a night of learning into it, and they were hooked. They'd never go back to playing consoles again. I've built several computers for friends, and that's why. And people think that playing computers is all about, the fastest GPUs and making the games look good with high detail, but it's really about the games, those strategy games for me. I love playing them. Well, that was just my thoughts on how to get into PC gaming. I know it wasn't very detailed, but just try to remember the analogy of the Mr. Potato Head toy, and that it's not that hard to do. Just don't worry about all the terminology and stuff. The more you look and learn, the easier it will get. And it probably wasn't a couple weeks I had it down, and after I built my junky one, man, I was ready. I put the money down and bought me a nicer, newer one. And plus the games are so much better. I mean, start with Civ. I think I started with Civ 3, which if you look at it, it'll be an old, blocky style game. I mean, it's made way back in the day. But it's a good one to start learning from, and then jump to Civ 4. And then once you learn how to play Civ 4, it's over. You'll want a new computer so you can play Civ 5, I promise you. But this is just my quick little video about how you can get into it. I mean, if you guys want, I could give you some more detailed stuff about the actual components and hardware and power limits and GPU speeds and all that, but there's lots of videos out there about that. But yeah, it's SirWithrow. Thanks for watching.